Hey everyone, it's a nice night in August here in Kelowna, British Columbia. Standing in our greenhouse, which we just built this year. Figured I would talk to you a little bit about why we built it and how we built it and what we're going to do with it in the future. It's been a pretty big project for us. Previous to this, this whole area was a little parking area for a bunch of trucks that I had for a company, and we'd always kind of dreamed about when we get rid of the company or when we have more space, you know, we can turn this into a greenhouse. And the company just wasn't really cutting it anymore, so we decided, you know, like, this space is way more useful to us as a greenhouse and following our dreams, as opposed to, you know, just having it sit here empty with trucks parked in it kind of year round. So out with the old, in with the new. It was a pretty exciting project for us to do. It started with me having to kind of hand dig up all the gravel. A lot of the projects that we do have a lot of manual labor associated with them because you know, it was too cheap to rent a little digger to take out all the dirt and stuff. So it was a lot of hand bombing dirt into my truck and runs to the dump and stuff, but it was worth it, and it kept the cost down, which was super important to us. The total cost for this entire greenhouse was $800. That was probably about a quarter or a third of that cost was new dirt brought in, and then there was a cost to the irrigation system. That was a couple $100, and the steel kind of took up the rest of the cost, with just a little bit of cost going into some 2x4s for the framing along the outside. We did luck out with some freebie type stuff. We had a bunch of 2x6. Since we live in British Columbia, we got a bunch of cedar for free years ago, and it was just kind of lying around, had no purpose. So we decided to finally do something with it, and this is what we did. So the raised beds are all kind of freebie wood for us, and a lot of the dirt was free too, because we just so happened to have our my in-laws were digging up a bunch of stuff in their yard, and they had some really nice dirt that they were, you know, having to bring somewhere anyways, so we just took it off their hands, which it's always good to take advantage of the free stuff that is available and utilize that. And that was something that we really lucked out on this project, because, you know, probably would have doubled the cost if we had done it a different way. The steel is just chainlink fencing supplies stuff, and instead of doing anything really super fancy, more of the manual labor type stuff, I just got two sizes of steel. So the smaller one is 1 3/8, the larger one is 1 5/8, and the 1 3 just fits right in there. And then I just bent the 1 5 to the angles that I needed. So that's what all these joints are. So I didn't really need much of the larger size steel for it. And then you can see those bars that go along, that connect everything to add a little bit of rigidity. That's chain link fencing supply as well. That's called tension bars, and they're super cheap. They're just like a couple bucks each. So all in all, the materials were quite affordable. Along the outside here, something that was really essential to the greenhouse to be able to get the production out of it that we need is the ability to roll up the sides of the greenhouse. So not only does that allow pollinators in there, so that, you know, we don't have any problems with our tomatoes setting fruit or eggplants, whatever it is that we have in there. It also keeps everything from getting too crazy hot, because we do have pretty hot summers here in Kelowna. It's a dry climate. It's kind of semi-arid, and when the sun is shining in the summertime, it's pretty intense. Right now, this year, it was so hot that now we've had a lot of forest fires, and there's smoke in the area, so the sun isn't quite as intense as it was earlier in the summer, but we're still getting temperatures in the mid-30s every day, so if we didn't have the ability to roll up the sides, I think that these plants would be suffering. So for rolling up the sides there, basically it was just more of this 1 3/8 inch steel that runs the whole length. And then it's just taped onto the plastic. We just roll it up and then just secure it in place. I don't have a system rigged up completely yet, but I'm just gonna have a little rope up top to tie it off. For now, I've just been jamming a hammer in there and it works fine. It's kind of ghetto, but you know, it works, so it stays. In this particular greenhouse, the idea was I wanted it to go up straight on the sides and not just be like a semicircle, because I wanted it to be tall on all the sides. I wanted it to be like airy so that it was comfortable to stand in it, and that was the primary idea that I built everything else around. Probably could have built it a little cheaper if I had just done like a semicircle, but I don't feel like it would have been quite as roomy or comfortable in here if I had gone that way. You could go that way, and if I'd had another 4 or 5 feet in width, then that would have been probably perfectly acceptable as well. There's an irrigation system in here. You can see it kind of underneath there, just a drip irrigation along the bottom of the tomatoes as well. And over there, there's 2 different zones that go off here and keep it watered. So we haven't done any hand watering in here at all this year. It's just all been on the drip irrigation, so that makes life easy as well, having this whole area just take care of itself essentially. And that's what we're after, right? Is we only have so much time every day to be able to put into the garden, so we want to automate as much of it as possible. So another neat thing about this greenhouse is the fact that it's got a window up there that opens automatically with the temperature. So when it gets hot in the morning, this isn't like plugged in to anything. There's no like temperature sensor. It's just a little gas canister in there, and when it gets hot enough, it just opens it up. So lets a little bit of air in here. Part of the reason that we built this greenhouse is for the heat of the summer, to be able to get increased production in our tomatoes, eggplants, green peppers, and the basil. Those are kind of the 4 things that we were needing that extra heat for in the summertime. And then the other main part of it is we want to extend the season further into the fall, and we want to start earlier in the spring as well. These are our plants as of early August. We were already harvesting eggplants in July. Normally we only get 2 or 3 eggplants off of each plant by September, so the fact that we were getting stuff that early was pretty amazing. Our tomato production has been really good. We're getting lots of fruit setting, and everything's ripening up a little earlier than it would normally, so we're really happy with that. And our basil has been doing great. No complaints there at all. It's been really happy. It's been growing like a weed, and we can eat a ton of it, so it's great. Thanks for checking out my greenhouse. Click subscribe and join us on this journey. We've got a lot of other cool projects that we're going to explore in the future as we try to maximize production in a small space and see what we can do with it, see how far we can take it. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and we'd love it if you joined us and added your comments too. If you have questions, leave them down below, or if you have comments or suggestions, we'd love to hear those too. So click like, click subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.